Hello, welcome to the Accra Technical University's Library YouTube channel. Today's edition on our tutorial series, I am going to emphasize on the basic introduction into SPSS as a statistical software. The main goal and objective of this video is to get you abreast with the use of SPSS and how to perform simple introductory statistics as a beginner. This session will be focused on three areas, which are 1. Definition of variables. 2. Basic or simple data entry. 3. Editing of variables and its properties. Basically, the use of SPSS to assign names to variables. I am going to dive deeper as we proceed in my subsequent videos, so don't forget to keep in touch at all times as we embark on this educative journey. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are ready to learn how to use SPSS for your basic introductory statistics as a beginner, then you have come to the right channel. My name is Damesi Adams, and this is SPSS for Beginners from the Accra Technical University's library. So let's begin by opening the SPSS software on our device to display the interface. I'm using SPSS version 27, but what I'm about to take you through is going to work on any other version as far as SPSS version 16. Let's get started with the basics right away. There are two view modes to SPSS. We have the data view and we have the variable view. The data view is basically a spreadsheet consisting of numerous cells. And this is where we see our actual data. And also, this is where numbers are being entered. Each row of the data view represents a subject or a case, whilst each column of the data view is dedicated to a single variable or type of measurement. The variable view is also a spreadsheet consisting of numerous cells, but this is where we define and edit our variables or questionnaires. So let's start by entering some random numbers in the data view. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. You could realize that the variable is named automatically and its properties are set by default. However, VAR 0001 means variable 1 by default. If you type more numbers, more variables get defined as VAR 002, VAR 003, VAR 004, and so on and so forth. It can get confusing if you have more variables and are named almost the same, and also the default properties may look the same, whilst you may want others changed. In order to make these changes, you have to switch to the variable view by clicking on this button below the spreadsheet, or double-clicking on any of the variables to send you to the variable view. We can now see our 4 variables displayed in rows. and its properties displayed in columns. Let's begin by changing our variable names. Before that, there are some few rules you need to know about naming variables in SPSS. However, you can name your variable whatever you want, but cannot use spaces to separate each word, but rather can use the camel case by capitalizing each word, or the use of underscores to separate each word. Cannot begin with a special character, such as cannot begin with a number. You should always begin with a letter. Note, each variable name should be unique. So let's begin naming our variables with some more descriptive names. Let's say the first variable should be ID. Our second variable, gender. Our third variable, height. Our fourth variable, weight. Assigning names to the variables are good, but sometimes you want something even more descriptive. In that case, you add a label to the named variable. Labels allow you to describe your variable in much more details and how the name of this variable should actually appear when running some analysis. For example, ID means random identification number. Height in inches. And weight in kilograms. Another important property to take note is type of variable. The default type is numeric because numbers are being used, but you can change the type to any other variable considering the type of data being used. So the type of variable for random identification number is numeric. Note, these are all types of variables. Type of variable for gender. In this case, it's going to be numeric. I know you are wondering why. Because we have male and female, which are words. So why numeric and not a string variable? But yes, numeric because I don't want people to have problems in entering data, like wrong spelling of their names or missing names. So therefore, it is important to specify values by assigning a number to both genders. By doing so, we would have to go to the value column, to gender, and assign values to both gender. So by doing so, let's say if you are a male, you type 1 where required in the data view. And if you're a female, you type 2 where required in the data view. Note, this is done in no order. It could also be 1 for female, 2 for male. Let me quickly talk about the other properties. Width. Width specifies how wide or narrow the spring variable entries can be, or maximum number of characters to be allowed for each response. Decimals. Decimal specifies how many decimal places to be shown for numeric variables. 2 decimal places is set as default. We can choose to increase it or decrease it. But for the purpose of the video, we leave it at the default state. Also note that in SPSS, nominal variables don't need decimals because they are whole numbers. But for scale variables, they do need decimals. Another property to talk about is value. Values are a list of valid options, which are multiple choice lists for the variable. An example is what we did to that of gender. So you don't have to be typing your names if required in the data view as a variable. So in this case, if you're a male, you only have to type 1. If you're a female, you only have to type 2. And like I said, this is done in no order. It could be the other way around. So basically, values are a list of responses that are allowed for a question. Missing. Missing are values being used when responses is not applicable or not answered. Columns. Column specifies how wide or narrow the column should appear in the data view. By default, the size of each column in the data view is 8. We can choose to increase it for random identification number. So when we go to the data view, we see it take effect by increasing the size of each column. We can also choose to decrease it. And when we come to the data view, we see it take effect by decreasing the size of the column. But for the purpose of the video, we leave it at the default state. Align. Align enables you to justify your data to the left, right, or center. By default, all variables are aligned to the right. But we can also align the variables to the left, and when we go to data view, we see it take effect. Same way we can choose to align to the center, and when we go to the data view, we see it take effect. But for the purpose of the video, let's leave it at the default state. Measure. Measure. It specifies the measurement level depending on the type of variable you are dealing with and the scale of measurements that is required. Note that there are 4 scales of measurements in statistics, which are nominal scale of measurement, ordinal scale of measurement, interval scale of measurement, and ratio scale of measurement. But in SPSS, nominal is the same as nominal, ordinal is the same as ordinal, but that of interval and ratio is named a scale measurement. A variable is said to be nominal if its qualitative variable whose value do not represent any ranking. Example, sex or gender of a person, race of a person, tribe, country, district, and religion affiliation. These are all examples of nominal variable. Nominal variable is quite similar to ordinal variable, which is also represented by words, but then you may not actually be able to determine if there is any rank within the variables. So an example, gender, we can say being a male is more advantageous than being a female. Or also being a Christian is more religious than a Muslim. So this is an example of a nominal variable. There are many other. A variable is said to be ordinal if its qualitative variables whose categories represent a level of the variable being measured. Example, education level, level of satisfaction, and rating scale questions. Ordinal variables are variables represented by words, but one category or one value is on top or above the other in terms of quantity or quality. Example, if you think about education level, somebody in the secondary school has more education in someone in the primary school, or someone in the tertiary has more education than someone in the secondary school, which means the variable education level should definitely be an ordinal variable. Interval. Interval talks about how many, how much. Ratio talks about absolute quantity, no zeros. In SPSS, like I said, interval and ratio scale of measurement is named scale variable. So a scale variable are variables that talks about quantity. Example, how many people are there in your household, or how old are you? You are talking about the quantity of time or the distance from your house to the road. You are also talking about length. Numeric variables that measures quantity. Example, number of people or things, the age of a person, distance from one place to another, the weight of an individual, an area of an object, an amount of money are all examples of scale of measurement. So therefore, random identification number is an example of a nominal variable. Gender is also an example of a nominal variable, but height and weight are all examples of scale measurements. And like I said, nominal values don't require decimals. You can add more variables by typing in the next cell and format it accordingly. So let's say we want to add another variable. Let's say school. By default, it displays its properties. So you have to format it accordingly. So school is going to be numeric and not a string variable, because there are list of schools that will be given to choose from. So let's say 1 to represent ATU, 2 KTU, 3 STU, 4 TTU. These are all technical universities we have in Ghana. And it's a nominal scale of measurement. However, if you want to delete the newly added variable, which is school, you select the variable and go to edit. Click on clear to get rid of the added variable. Or to undo what you just deleted, you click on Ctrl Z to bring it back to life. Another way to delete a variable is to right-click on that variable and select clear. I believe I have been able to explain the general interface of SPSS and taking you through some basic SPSS on how to create a variable and edit it to your preferred choice. In my next video, I am going to take you through some simple data analysis. Thank you for your time and hope this video is useful to you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and recommend my videos to someone. The name still remains Damesi Adams. I'm out.